Hey, I'm Rob. Welcome back. Some of you viewers might have noticed that I changed my name from Results May Vary to Black Label Miniatures. I've been working on this for a couple weeks now and finally got around to it. And on top of that, we have also already moved into our new little bedroom slash studio. This week we are focusing on part 2 of our part 3 video, the Pathfinders for Star Wars Legion from Fantasy Flight Games. This week focusing on Poe. Or POW. Poe or POW. I've tried to keep the paint scheme pretty simple and straightforward, so let's get started. We'll be starting out the vest with some Vallejo Model Air Intermediate Blue. This pretty much just covers the small area in his front, the areas of his shoulders, and a little bit on his back area. So I'm not for sure why I was using Vallejo Model Air Drab here. Best guess was I mixed up Poe and Baston. So you can basically skip this step if you want. I really don't think it'll have an effect on the overall color. Vallejo Green Ochre will be used for both the main parts of the jacket and the side-facing sections of his little cap type deal there. I'm not for sure really what that is. It does not really look like a helmet, so we'll just call it a cap. Now for his pants and the top part of his little cap section, let's use some Vallejo Model Color Flat Brown. I sort of envisioned him as, in these leather pants type guy, and Flat Brown really offers a good, entry for leather colors. So after letting those pants dry for a few minutes, we'll be doing some pre-shade highlighting here on the pants with a 50-50 mixture of Model Color Flat Brown and Game Color Leather Brown. As always, when you're doing highlights, remember to take your time. You're going to aim for any of the upraised sections, tops of the folds, stuff like that, and always be sure to leave a fair amount of the previous color showing. For his jacket area, I'm mixing some model color green ochre with some dark sand. It took me a little while debating the base color for his jacket. You know, when you look at some photos, you know, his jacket might look, you know, what is it? Kind of like a buff or a really dark yellow color, and you'll look at another one and it'll look sort of green. It's the problem with looking at photos on the internet, you know, and trying to figure out what colors you want to do. Remember, you know, you don't always have to match your colors exactly as you see them on print or paper, you know, I mean on the internet. So, you know, just try and come up with some color combos that, you know, that excite you. I think this was probably the hardest part of the miniature or the session, painting his face. To me, he kind of looks like a cross between a turtle and a grumpy old man. You know, so for the base color, I thought that Model Air Duck Egg Green would fit that bill. And at the end of the day, I really thought this was a great color. So this pot, let me tell you about this pot of Duck Egg Green. I bought this pot like 2.5, 3 years ago. It came as part of a package for the Vallejo model colors, and I've never opened that thing until today. So I just want to give a shout out to Lucasfilm and Fantasy Flight Games for allowing me to use Duck Egg Green. For his backpack, you really want to paint this, you know, a different color than what you did his jacket so that it doesn't get lost in the jumble of stuff. And as far as it goes for backpacks and people trampling through forest, you really cannot go with a canvas style color, and for that, you know, khaki really fits that bill. Now, just remember when you're painting his backpack that he has two little sections on the top and the bottom that hold some electronic components, so you do not want to paint those at the same time. Leave them black. So on Poe's, both of Poe's forearms, he looks like he has these metal type bracers that look like they're holding these little rockets or some sort of other ammo type deal on them. So with those, I went ahead and painted those a metallic color, such as Model Air Gun Gray. I also went over the areas on his backpack, and I believe the other ammo areas on his hip also at the same time here. And we're back to the face. So you'll notice that off screen I painted his tongue, and for that I used a little bit of Rosey Flesh to do that with, and then I added that Rosey Flesh to my duck egg and used that to give his face some shape and definition with highlights. while I was working on that turtle mug, I pulled out some model color white gray to block out his upper and lower teeth. Nothing special here, just do your best to avoid, the tongue and the skin area so you don't have to go back over them again. Take that white gray and mix it into some khaki. Then give his backpack a little bit of highlighting. Hit those sharp edges, stuff like that. Not too much. So off screen, or in my previous video, my part 1 on my Pathfinders, I shaded him along with everybody else, so I didn't, I didn't include the video of me shading him here. Just use some, earthy tone shadows on his clothing. For his face, you're gonna really want to thin it down really well. Maybe add in a little bit of green. Maybe a tiny bit of biltan green or something, and just make sure it's really watered down for his face. But after shading, I went ahead and I came back to the pants with the original flat brown and leather brown and just did some cleanup work. And for his jacket, the same as before, the dark sand. Probably use a little more dark sand this time, but still that mixture of dark sand, green ochre to clean up his jacket. For his little ammo patches on his hip areas, and I think the rockets on his wrists. Apparently, I painted them German green off camera, or forgot to hit the record button on the camera. So right here, you're going to want to pause this film, travel back in time about 20 or 30 minutes, right before you shaded, and paint this stuff green, and then fast forward back and then hit play again. And then we can add some pale green to our German green and do some highlight pickups. For his little combat vest that we painted intermediate blue, we can add in some UK Prussian blue and work on picking up the areas on his shoulder, around his rib cages, and I believe he has some pockets on his upper chest area that you can pick out. Using gun gray, and I think I actually mixed in a little bit of silver to this to give it a little more pop. Use this to kind of edge highlight around his weapon and also those bracers on both of his arms. Here we are, Poe from, or is it Powell? Powell. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. From Fantasy Flight Games, Star Wars Legion. I'll work to get part 3 featuring Baston completed this week and uploaded hopefully over the weekend. Powell here was pretty much a straightforward paint job, with the biggest unknown being his skin color. Remember, if you like this video and would like to see more, hit like, subscribe, and share to help my channel grow. Below you can find a link to all the paints I use in this video. Using these links is a great way to help my channel. Financially, you can buy paints and it doesn't cost you any extra than you would normally pay. Alternatively, below you'll find a PayPal link for like a PayPal tip jar, and also a patreon.com link. So if there is something specific you guys would like to see in the future, let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.